Greetings everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Ask Shane Anything right here on Sifted Games at sifted.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, the person who puts the Shane in Ask Shane Anything, and I have a special request for you this week. Please head on over to sifted.net. In the header there's a link where you can go to our forums to ask me questions. For the 10th time, I am going out of town finally for the first time this year. I have some vacation days over Labor Day weekend. I'm leaving Friday morning. I get back next Wednesday. So I'm not gone all that long, but I need questions from you guys so I can bank an episode of Ask Shane Anything for next week so I can run it while I am gone. So please head over there right now and ask some questions. That would be great. What's also great is that so many of you guys and girls are pledging at $7 or more at patreon.com/sifted. That's that Ask Shane tier. That's why this show keeps happening. If you pledge at that tier, you get priority in asking questions. But of course, everybody gets to watch the archive, even if they're just pledging at that $5 a month to get all our content early. So we have another great round of questions for this week's show. Let's get right to them. First up, we have a question from regular contributor Bachby. Do you think it would be smart for Konami to release a demo of Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater as a way to get new players on board? Or could it backfire when people realize it hasn't been updated to modern control standards like Metal Gear Solid 5? That's a great question, Bachby. And I've been saying actually for the last couple weeks, it's cool to see Konami back in the mix again. They were gone for like a decade. It's just good to be talking about Konami and Metal Gear again, because we're not getting one from Kojima, obviously, because he can't make it. So it's good to see that Konami just hasn't completely trashed the franchise, regardless of how you feel about what it's doing with Metal Gear at this point. However, here's the thing. I do think Konami has made a huge mistake in not upgrading Metal Gear Solid 3 for this new remaster, remake. Kind of hard to figure out which one it is. I get why Konami didn't do it, because it's terrified of messing with anything that Hideo Kojima has done on Metal Gear. So I understand why it's reluctant to make any changes, but look, even Hideo Kojima said this isn't good enough and upgraded the controls for Metal Gear Solid 5. And now, let's be honest, Metal Gear Solid 5 is kind of an old game. So I do think that there will be a lot of people who are shocked to see how Metal Gear Solid Delta plays, because here's the other thing, is that Metal Gear fans have pumped this game up so hardcore for the last 2 decades that there's big expectations for people coming in to play this who have not played it or really know much about it. And they're going to be in for a big surprise. Look, I didn't think Metal Gear Solid 3 was all that good the day it came out. I think I reviewed it for X-Play, and I gave it, I think, a 4 or a 3. I definitely didn't give it a 5. And I definitely do not think it's as good as a lot of people think it is. So that's starters for me. I didn't think it was great when it came out. I thought it was clunky and felt dated back then. So I can't even imagine what modern players are going to think of the CQC controls, just the general controls, having to patch yourself up, the whole eating thing. To me, the game was just crazy tedious. I just didn't enjoy it. I thought it strayed way too far away from what made the original Metal Gear Solid such a hit. So yes, I think it is very risky for Konami to not update the controls and a bunch of other stuff in Metal Gear Solid 3. Now, one thing even I will agree on is that a lot of the boss fights in the game are pretty freaking cool and creative. And maybe they'll struggle through the other stuff to get to those highlights of Metal Gear Solid 3. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch this new generation of players. But here's the thing. I don't think a lot of a new generation of players are even going to play it. I think most of the people who are going to play this are people like you, Bachby, who have been Metal Gear fans all along and are approaching middle age, are in middle age. I think that's really the market for the game. And if that's the case, those people go in knowing what to expect with some maybe slight quality of life improvements. Those players probably won't be too unhappy about it. I'm guessing, Bachby, you won't be too unhappy about it. So it's this mythical unicorn that we're all talking about all the time, the young player, the Gen Z player. I feel like at a certain point we just have to admit that those players just aren't interested in these types of games. They don't care. They're also, a lot of them are broke. They don't have a lot of money to buy these games. And so I think those people are going to look at this game as risky, because there are some people like me out there who are saying, hey, slow your roll a little bit. Metal Gear Solid 3 isn't as good as people say it is. And even if there's a few of us out there that could plant doubt in their minds. And again, they're not really buying full price video games anyway. So The truth of the matter is that Konami's afraid to mess with anything Metal Gear. That's why the game is in the state that it's in. And to be honest, the market who's probably going to buy this game, maybe they don't even want a bunch of improvements anyway. Okay, next up we have a question from NeoJD. Between Chris Hansen and the state of Louisiana, why do you think everyone is just now going after Roblox? What, if anything, do you think is going to happen? So I don't know if you know who Chris Hansen is, because that's kind of a blast from the past that a lot of people may not even realize what that reference is. Chris Hansen is this guy who used to go on TV hunting down child predators. They would basically like put fake ads out, or they would go into chat rooms and act like they were young kids, and they would snare these child predators. They'd get them to come to their house and they'd film the whole thing. It was like this big gotcha moment. It feels like all that stuff has kind of gone away and people may not know who Chris Hansen is. But anyway, that's who he is. And then the story around Roblox that NeoJD is talking about is that the state of Louisiana has sued Roblox, claiming that it's a breeding ground for sexual predators. So that's the background on what NeoJD is talking about here, is that Roblox, and it's not the first time that Roblox has been accused of being too lax on the security of the young players who are playing Roblox. And again, maybe you don't have kids, you don't know what Roblox is, but Roblox is a sensation with Gen Z and younger. It's basically like a little arcade that you can go into and play all these user-created games. And some of those people that make those games are getting rich off of those little games inside Roblox. So it's like you buy a bunch of credits. It's like going to the arcade. You buy a bunch of credits, and then you go into Roblox, and you can spend your credits to play all the little games that are in there. And it is predominantly, I would argue, more of a social platform for young players than even like an arcade. When I watch my nieces and nephews play Roblox, it's not that they're actually even really playing the games. They're talking and chatting with the other people who are fiddling around with these games. And to be fair, most of the games are not good. To me, they're trash. Like, I look at my nieces and nephews and I'm like, this is the bad side of video games when they're playing Roblox, because it's just awful games. Maybe that's part of the charm. Anyway, I don't think Roblox is good for anybody. I think it's bad for the industry. I think it cheapens the industry. It makes a young generation of players think that this is what video games are, when there are other far superior games out there that they could be trying and getting hooked on. At the holidays, I never buy any Roblox gift cards for my nieces and nephews. I only buy Fortnite V-Bucks. And I guess I'm taking a stand. They probably don't even notice that I'm doing it. But anyway, so Roblox is notorious. People have been talking about this for a while, and Roblox was defensive about it. It will put out statements saying, we're doing our due diligence and blah, 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 and then the next thing you know, another child predator gets caught on the platform. So I would argue that Roblox probably is not doing enough, and that's what the state of Louisiana is saying. And if you're asking what's going to come out of this, I think good is going to come out of this. I do think that Roblox is dangerous. I wouldn't say it's a breeding ground for sexual predators, but I do think if you are a sexual predator, you probably know that Roblox is a good place to go to. I do think Roblox needs to be more cautious about protecting its young players. I don't think it is cautious enough. Here's the thing though, I talk to my sisters and my brothers whose kids are playing Roblox. They don't even think about this stuff. I think they look at it like, well, I can give them $10 a week and they leave me alone all week and don't pester me. It's like a babysitter. But I try to talk to them about it. Whenever I see them at the holidays, I'm like, there's some rough stuff going on in Roblox. Really? I haven't heard about that. So I do feel like the messaging isn't getting out there, and so the parents aren't on guard. So at the very least, I feel like this court case could raise the visibility of Roblox so that parents know the risks that are on the platform, and at least then they're informed, and then they can make decisions from there. Okay, our last question for this week's episode comes from Joaquin Dragoon. Would you like to see a particular dormant IP rise from the ashes? What genre would you like to retire from the gaming world? I'll be honest with you, Joaquin Dragoon, even though I've kind of come around a little bit on the Souls-like, and there's been a few releases over the last couple years that I actually was able to kind of enjoy and not hate, I just feel like the Souls-like genre is just taking over. Watching Gamescom, it's just like everything is either like a Souls-like or an extraction shooter or an extraction whatever, or a free-to-play something or other. That feels like what the industry is dominated by at this point, and I get it. Like, if those are the only games that you can make to stay afloat, then I'm totally fine with it. I just don't believe that. I don't think everything needs to be a Souls-like to sell. Now, I will say this. It does feel like, and I mentioned this on Game Face this week, it does feel like the Souls-like games are the only games that are guaranteed to sell in their launch month anymore. Like, sell well. Like, if you have a good Souls-like, you're probably going to sell 1 million, 2 million the first month. Like, it's kind of guaranteed. And for whatever reason, a lot of us have stopped buying games month one. It could be the prices are going up, you don't like the games. I feel like the quality of games is pretty dang high. So I don't think that's the problem. But the truth of the matter is that Souls-likes are taking over the industry. I'll be honest with you, I don't like them. I've never really liked them all that much, and I would not care if they went away. So if there's one genre that it's not that I want it to go away, because I know some of you guys really like them, and I want you to have those games, but I do feel like the popularity of that subgenre has hurt the industry on the whole. Because when a game like Elden Ring comes out, and it sells 30 million units, and all the people are like, wow, there's this game called Elden Ring that everybody's playing, and they go and play it, and they're like, I hate this. Like, is that good for the industry? I don't know if it is. So I will say this, I was surprised how well Elden Ring DLC sold. I did not think it would sell as well as it did. So maybe the casual players are more into Souls-likes than I think. But I think there's just way too many. It just feels like the whole industry is saturated with Souls-likes right now. So that is why I wouldn't want to see it go away. That is a genre that I would like to see pulled back on a little bit more in favor of making games in other genres. So that's one. A dormant IP that I would like to see revived. I mean, here's the thing, like, it takes so long to make games now, it feels like every IP is dormant. Like, to me right now, it feels like BioShock is dormant. We've waited how long for a new BioShock game? And we're not getting one, and now we're not going to get one for another 3 years. So BioShock is absolutely a franchise that I love, that is basically dormant, that I want to see revived. I'm glad that they got Rod Ferguson in there to try to fix it and clean it up and get it out. But it's still going to be 2 or 3 years till that happens. So that is a dormant franchise that I would like to see come back. No secret that I am a huge Star Siege Tribes fan. I have been since like 1997 or whatever when it came out, and I played it on my Voodoo 2 card. All the little spin-offs, that franchise has just been wasted by the people who have it. And I guess it's like Hi-Rez Studios or whatever that owns the IP at this point. I wish they would just sell it to somebody else who knows what to do with it, because right now, Tribes could be gigantic if you handled it correctly. They've overcomplicated it. Like, just go back to Tribes 1 with new visuals. Just 6-on-6 with 2 bases and a bunch of fun vehicles, and let's go at it. Like, but anyway, that franchise has been ruined by Hi-Rez and everybody else who has owned it in the past and just trashed it. So I would like to see Tribes be revived for sure. Other than that, though, it feels like everything's being revived. They just announced a Bubsy 4D. Bubsy! Nobody ever liked Bubsy. So when you start seeing these really crappy games coming back and being remastered or getting these new versions, it doesn't feel like anything that's worthwhile is truly dormant anymore. There are some franchises that I was like, I don't even really remember that franchise from 19 years ago. It wasn't really a big deal when it came out back then, and now it's getting a new game in 2025. That's happening all the time. So honestly, it doesn't feel like there really is dormant IP anymore. Everybody points to like a bunch of Capcom stuff, Dino Crisis, stuff like that. I don't want to just regurgitate that like everyone says when they're asked this question. So I think there's the usual suspects, like I just said, with Dino Crisis, things that people have wanted for a really long time. And it also almost feels like we're getting trolled by the publishers at a certain point. So there's stuff like that, but really, BioShock, I would love to see another one in Tribes. Okay, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Ask Shane Anything. Again, a huge thanks to anyone who is pledging anything at patreon.com/sifted, but a special thanks to those of you who are pledging at $7 or more per month at that Ask Shane tier. That's why this show just keeps rolling on, and I really love doing it. If you're watching this show on YouTube, it feels like the people who watch this show really like it. And I think other people, if they were exposed to this show, they would really like it too. So if you could start liking this show and sharing it on YouTube, I feel like the name of it is a detriment, honestly, because it just feels like an AMA or something like that. And I feel like this show is way more than that. So I am actually considering changing the title of this show to even like the Shane Satterfield Show or something that denotes a little more than what this show is kind of portrayed as with Ask Shane Anything. We'll see. But anyway, again, I need your questions, because I need to bank an episode, at least one episode of this show, so when I go away on vacation, it runs while I'm waiting to come back. So head to SIFTD.net. In the header there's a link. Go to our forums, ask me a question. You can ask about anything. I'd really appreciate it. Again, a big thanks to anyone who's pledging anything at patreon.com/sifted. Because of you guys, this show keeps happening. So have yourselves a great week, and don't forget, sleep is for the dead, play games instead.